I've only got to hear Morgan do that one time, and I think both times are awesome. You're welcome. This is not a poem. This is prose. It's a story called The Snow Day, and it's about me. I was raised in a town called Germantown, Ohio. In 2020, the population was around 5,796. Yes, it sounds like a small amount of people, but it can get extremely overwhelming during festivals, parades, and events, especially for someone who gets anxious a lot. I'm not claustrophobic, but shoulder-to-shoulder crowds really make me uneasy sometimes. Picture a snowy day in a small village town in the winter of 2008. Nestled at the tippy top of the village was an apartment complex with a forest where all the teenage rebels, bullies, and potheads would go to hang out. Occasionally, I would get asked to smoke or hit this, which was slang for, well, smoking weed, of course. I never accepted these offers. I was around 11 years old while my grandmother sat inside watching political television shows, and my grandfather was working to keep food on the table. Me and my friends did everything we could to find something unique, adventurous, and exciting to do. We were always seeking the next thrill. One December afternoon, it snowed like hell. I dressed myself in layers of clothes and dashed outside as fast as possible. At the time, I had a few friends, or I guess I can now call them acquaintances. When we reached the forest, there were no teenagers, no bullies, and it was just us. The snow glistened in every direction, filling our pupils with the iridescence of untouched snow. Of course, our immediate desire was to fuck it all up, and we did, by throwing snowballs into each other's faces. I didn't really feel connected to everyone else the way everyone else seemed connected. I was thinner, smaller, looked upon as the weakling of the group. But we decided to start heading home once the sun started to go down. As soon as someone mentioned going home, things changed in a flash. Everyone started running, and I hadn't seen their plan coming to abandon me, to leave me out in the snow. My foot got stuck, and I eventually tried to catch up with them, but they all found it so hilarious to abandon me in the woods all alone. During the edge of nightfall, this felt like an evil prank, and it still sticks with me to this day. Immediately, I began to scream. That was my reaction. I was defeated, both mentally and emotionally. I even tried yelling for them to not leave me behind. Nothing worked. Their laughter echoed in the distance, drowning out my wails of discontent. All of a sudden, I heard the rustle of a branch. What was it? An animal? A serial killer? Who knows? Despite the forest having a negative reputation for some reason, the snow erased all of those fears and safety felt inevitable. My heart began to race quicker, and I swear I could feel hypothermia creeping into my body. And out of nowhere, a man picked me up, and by the time I could gather myself, my fear for the worst, he was telling me a story. He was a former Army veteran. He had been across the ocean in different countries and had been trained to listen for the fallen. The apartment complex is situated at the very edge of the forest, and he had just happened to be outside at the perfect time. His instant reaction was, "Scream, sounds, young, child, save now." I'm sure my screams and yells triggered some sort of PTSD in him. At the time, I didn't know that. Now, as an adult, I feel bad for not getting up and walking myself home. Then again, I have to take my childhood for what it was. Immature, afraid, and a bit dizzy at times. As the man carried me through the forest, and the remaining daylight hovered above us, I told him about what happened. We both agreed that kids could be assholes, and that I shouldn't feel bad for someone saving me when I was in distress. When the man reached the edge of the apartment complex and exited the forest, he asked which apartment I belonged to. I told him my address and which of the 4 quadrants of the complex I lived at. He knew which way to go instantly. The man never walked fast, and he never ran. He just wore a yellowish winter jacket and carried the weight of about 45 years just within the wrinkles of his face. And in those wrinkles and in his soul, I'm sure there were memories he remembered, whether or not by choice. Only now do I feel that maybe him saving me from nearly freezing to death was his way of avenging someone he couldn't during wartime. I promise, I'm not trying to feel special or pull tears out of anyone's eyes. I just know that with the human condition and the short 27 years of life I've lived, that the complexity of trauma is so rich with different paths. If anything, the man was finding closure while simultaneously being a hero, and he chose to act on his instincts and save a stranger in need, which I am forever grateful for. As we arrived, I turned around to thank the man for saving me, for helping me live to see another day. The man said, "You're welcome," and continued his walk back home. Out of the corner of my eye, as the man turned away, I noticed that the symmetry of his body was off. The entire time the man carried me home, he did so with only one arm. The man was missing the other. And I've carried this story with me my entire life, and I've been humbled by it over and over again. And it only proves to me that within the realms of adversity, evil and bullying, humanity and kindness and love will always prevail, always.